all eyes are going to be on Wisconsin this election year, especially in the fall. There's a lot of information out there, sometimes misinformation. These days, election security is a big issue that all state and local election officials are working on. And so we at the Elections Commission have done a lot over the last 4 years to secure our election processes, our IT infrastructure, and to provide training to local election officials and to voters to make sure they have the information that they need. So election security and the rules for voting, photo ID requirements, voter registration requirements, those are all important for voters and the public to understand. So what are the top 3 misconceptions folks have about elections in Wisconsin? I think every election year we hear people who believe that absentee ballots are not counted unless the election is close, and that's not true at all. Every ballot that's cast, absentee ballot or ballot at the polls, is counted. There are unofficial election results reported on election night, and then in the weeks after the election, the official results are tallied and certified. So I think that would be one. Another concern or misconception folks have is about voting equipment in the state of Wisconsin. It's not connected to the internet. There are security provisions as far as the results being tallied and transferred to a central office for tabulation. And the public has a number of opportunities to watch voting equipment being tested and certified, both at the state level and the local level. And voting equipment is actually more accurate than humans counting votes late into the night. So it's an important part of our infrastructure. And I think maybe thirdly, it's the election night sort of angst or anxiety folks have if they don't see elections coming in immediately after the polls close. That process takes a while. Often there are absentee ballots that have to be counted after the polls close. And of course, the larger the municipality, the longer it's going to take to accumulate those results. So our motto is it's better to be accurate than to be fast. And that's what we advise the local election officials is take their time, make sure you get the count right, and then it can be reported to the media. What do voters need to bring to the polls to make sure they can vote? It depends if you're a registered voter or if you're not a registered voter. To find out if you are registered, you can go to our website, My Vote Wisconsin, myvote.wi.gov. You can find out if you're registered at your current address. If not, you can actually register on that website up to 20 days before the election. If you're not registered, you will need to register at the polls or in the clerk's office, and you will need a proof of residence document. That's one of a number of documents that have your current address on. It could be an official government ID, a government document, a lease, a property tax bill, a bank statement, a number of documents that have your current address on. If you are registered, the only thing you need to do is bring a photo ID to the polls, and that is usually a driver's license or a state-issued ID issued by the Division of Motor Vehicles. There are a number of other IDs, including a student ID, that can be used. But in order to get a ballot, you need to have a photo ID. If you vote without a photo ID, your vote will be counted if you bring your photo ID back to the municipal clerk within 3 days of the election. It's a great question. What can attorneys do to be involved in elections in Wisconsin? First of all, I'd recommend watching the webinar for this seminar. And attorneys have some unique roles or opportunities. It's a fairly small group of attorneys that are directly involved in elections, but they could be sometimes providing legal advice to candidates or voter advocacy organizations. Obviously, attorneys that represent municipalities or counties, they are involved sometimes in the process, so it's important for them to be knowledgeable. But also, attorneys are often leaders in their communities, and just being able to provide accurate information to voters if you hear of things that are just not true, I think attorneys can be a credible source of information. We always encourage people to go to our website as the official source of information, but attorneys can observe voting equipment being tested and certified. They can go to the polls as election observers to make sure that the process is transparent and fair. And as I said, they can be hopefully be a trusted and accurate source of information regarding elections and voting. These days, there's a lot of attention on election security, and election officials have come to sort of see themselves really as defenders of democracy. It's the fundamental way that our citizens participate in their government and choose their government leaders. And we encourage the public generally, but attorneys more specifically, to be engaged, to be informative, and to participate. And it's just an excellent way to be a valuable member of our democracy and society. We have a lot of information on the website for the Wisconsin Elections Commission. So if you go to that, elections.wi.gov, that has a lot of information, including legal resources, the statutes, administrative code, other legal resources. You'll see all the guidance that we provide to clerks, all kinds of information for voters about the voting rules, and that's an excellent source. There are also obviously resources through the legislative services, the Legislative Reference Bureau, and the Blue Book has a lot of election and historical information about Wisconsin elections.